I'm super freaking excited. I got my Sweat CBD swag on, popped my gummy. I'm ready. So anybody who doesn't know, this is Kelsey. She's the beauty and brains behind Sweat CBD. And I'm super excited to have you on here because I know for CBD is something that's now part of my everyday routine that has helped with my anxiety and just like giving me so much clarity and less like overwhelm. So I'm super excited to talk more about CBD because I know there's tons and tons of questions and I want as many people to reap the benefits of CBD as possible. So I'm super excited to kind of get those questions answered and get that message out there. So yeah, so one of the things that I just wanted to start out with is I know I related to you so much because I remember you saying that one of the reasons that you started CBD is because you were taking medication for anxiety. And so that was like more of a natural remedy for you to get off of your anxiety medication. So I would love for you to like start by just telling us kind of that part of your story.
Yeah,
and how
absolutely.
you were able to use CBD instead.
Yes. So as far back as I can honestly remember, I was just it wasn't even anxiety when I was little. I think it was just overthinking. Like I would overthink every little situation, and then it built up into anxiety. And when I got to college, everything just kind of crumbled on me. The anxiety got so overwhelming. I was forced to take my medicine every day, but then you start taking anxiety medication. Pretty soon you have to take medication for your sleep. Then you have to take medication for X, Y, and Z. It's just a domino effect. So pretty soon I'm on like a whole cocktail of medications and I'm just numb to the world. And that led me down a really dark path. I actually developed an eating disorder from all the anxiety that I was dealing with. And that lasted about 3 years. And I was really in a bad place mentally and physically. And then over time, I started to heal myself through just healthy eating and exercise and finding that balance in my life that, a huge part of what you teach people. And it helped. It really did. It helped a lot, but there was still always that anxiety for me and I was still having panic attacks and I still just knew that something wasn't right. So I continued to take my medication because obviously nobody wants to suffer like that. But obviously continued my search for a natural remedy. And my now husband one day suggested that I try CBD. And on the first day that I took it, I remember like taking a deep breath and being able to like breathe deeper into my chest than I had been able to in like 10 years. It was crazy. I remember it so vividly. And then I went to the gym and I had an awesome workout and I came home and I was like, this is it. That day I poured my anxiety medication down the toilet and I have not taken a single prescription medication in 2.5 years now.
Yeah, I relate to that so hard. Like I kind of was like the same sort of path. Doctors were like, here's some medication. And I was like, I don't like how I feel when I take this. There's more side effects than there are benefits to it. And yeah, food, nutrition, working out, that'll get you really good, like super helpful. But then like adding, like supplementing CBD has been such a game changer.
Cool thing to feel the difference between like, okay, I can feel good here, but I can feel really good here.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I have like 4 other questions that are like top questions to get some clarity around for people. So one of the things, what's the difference for people when they're trying to decide which product to get, like between gummies and using the oil?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I get this question every single day. So essentially, they're the same product. The CBD is CO2 extracted from all of our products are hemp derived. So it's CO2 extracted from the hemp plant, which is the cleanest and most pure and potent way of being able to pull the CBD out of the plant. So the CBD is then mixed with the carrier oils of MCT oil, grapeseed oil, and organic hemp seed oil in the CBD oil. So that's just the difference. It's either put into the oil or it's infused into a gummy. However, each way that you ingest CBD, whether it be through sublingually under your tongue, which is how you would take the oil, or through your stomach lining, which is how you would digest the gummy, gives you a different effect. And now that is also very specific per person. So I have some customers come back to me and say, when I take the gummy, I feel it much more mentally. I feel a lot more focused than I do when I take the oil. Whereas when I take the oil, I feel better in my body. And then I hear the exact opposite from another customer. So it is very person specific, but they essentially are the same product and have the same benefits. For me personally, I agree. I do find that the gummy is kind of like ultimately just very centering for me. I feel a little bit more in my head, whereas the oil is kind of like my everyday vitamin supplement. I honestly recommend taking them together. I recommend doing the oil in the morning and then doing a gummy like midday or like before your workout. They work really well together. And again, you can't take too much. So just being able to play around with your dose and combine the two products, or try both at first and pick which one you like, see which one works better with your body.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know, because that's what I do. I take the oil every morning, and that just seems like kind of like a routine, like for overall health and just overall feeling less overwhelmed. And then as far as the gummies, I like take a gummy like before this call, or like something that's going to get me a little bit more like anxious and kind of like in the moment. So
yeah, and I always recommend them to somebody dealing with anxiety and tell them like, take the oil every day and it will kind of get in front of your anxiety before it gets to you, but there's still going to be situations that kind of like trigger anxiety. And then so maybe use the gummies a little bit more like situationally throughout the day.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so this is a big one too, since CBD, I mean, it's not really new, but it's kind of like a newer thing that people are talking about. And I know a lot of people are wondering, like, is it safe? Are there like any negative side effects that people should be aware of if they're going to consider using CBD on a regular basis?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, no matter what, if you are ever in question, or if you're on other medications, no matter what, I'm not a doctor. I always say consult your doctor. Ask your doctor. So a lot of doctors aren't necessarily going to bring up like, hey, you should switch to CBD, because that's just not how it works in our healthcare system. They are getting more than likely paid to, subscribe you or prescribe you different prescription medications. So because of that, they're probably not going to bring up CBD. But if you ask them about it, they are probably more than likely to help you out. So I always recommend just ask any medication you are on. It could interact, but the only known interaction that I've heard of is grapefruit. So any medications containing grapefruit can actually offset the potency of the CBD. So it's not exactly going to be something that like you break out in hives, or you have trouble breathing, like that kind of allergic reaction. But it's more so it just kind of makes the CBD pointless, and so you're wasting your money. Yeah. So that being said, as far as side effects go, it can be abused like anything else. If you take a ton of it, you're probably going to get sleepy. But overall, to be completely honest, since the day I started this business, I have not had one person ever ask for a, knock on wood, refund or want their money back because it didn't work for them. It just took a little bit of work to figure out that person's proper dosing and time of day that they should be taking it.
Awesome. Which leads into the next question, which I'm sure you're expecting is CBD legal? And also, I guess more importantly, like for people who get regularly drug tested at work or something like that, is CBD something that they should be concerned with is going to like come up as a positive in a drug test or anything?
Right. Yes, definitely a question I get all the time as well. Yes, CBD is legal in the way that our oil is full spectrum. It's hemp derived. So there's the cannabis plant, and then there's marijuana, and then there is hemp. So we are all hemp derived. We don't pull our CBD out of marijuana. There are CBD companies that do pull their CBD out of a marijuana plant. but that's not what we do. It would have a much higher THC content. So we have a very, very low THC content, which is less than 0.3% THC, which makes it legal in all states and in most countries. There are still some countries with some different regulations on it, but not in the United States. So yes, it is legal. I ship to every state in the country. And yeah, so as far this, just to give people a good idea of how hard it would be to test positive on a drug test while using CBD. Because yes, if someone was actively trying to do it, they probably could, but you would have to actively be trying to test positive in order to get to that point. So legally, I cannot say 100% no, you can't, because somebody could really try to, and then my word wouldn't be true, right? So just to give you an idea, if you consumed a non-alcoholic beer or a non-alcoholic wine, it still has that tiny, tiny, tiny trace of alcohol in it. But you would have to consume so many of them in about a 30-minute period in order to feel like a buzz. The same thing goes for this, but even on a much larger scale. You would have to consume about 3,000 milligrams of concentrated CBD in 30 minutes in order to have a chance at testing a false positive on a drug test. But I have, right now, I sell to nurses, I sell to doctors, construction workers, truck drivers, firemen, police officers, and those are all people that get very regularly drug tested. So I would say you have to make a decision that's right for you, and you have to feel comfortable doing it, but err on the side of, no, that won't happen.
Yeah, that's super interesting to know too, like that some companies pull it from like a marijuana plant. I didn't even know that like there was a difference. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, and if you ever go to like a weed clinic or like a medical marijuana shop, you are going to have that CBD that's in there is THC licensed. So that means it's derived from the marijuana plant. So I couldn't sell my CBD oil in a weed shop or like I said, a clinic, because it's not derived from marijuana.
Okay, so the last question is, what other benefits are there to use CBD besides like, the typical like anxiety? I know you've mentioned things like, taking it before a workout, and I know that you have some things that like some products that would be helpful for like pain relief and things like that. So what are some other ways that we could use CBD?
Totally. So yes, I mean, there's the obvious ones like anxiety. It's actually 20 times stronger than taking aspirin or ibuprofen for inflammation. So it's really good for muscle and joint pain, and also a game changer in post-workout recovery. I work out like 6, sometimes 7 days a week and get sore. So do you. And I remember always taking BCAAs or like eating a bunch of bananas and trying to like reduce some of my soreness, because every once in a while I'd have a day at the gym that just kicked my butt. I have not taken any sort of recovery supplement or anything like that since I started taking CBD. So it's completely taken the place of any BCAAs or anything like that for me. So as far as like pain relief and muscle recovery, it's huge. Sleep is a huge one. I used to be the person that stayed awake or would wake up in the middle of the night. Every single night, I was the weirdo in college that would like walk around my house and be cleaning all the time in the middle of the night. And I started using CBD about 15 minutes before I went to bed, and it completely changed my sleep. So it doesn't induce sleep. It's not like taking NyQuil or taking like Ambien or something to help you fall asleep. And because you wake up groggy when you take those things. It just relaxes your mind so that you can relax your body and you can fall asleep and then stay asleep naturally. So you're not waking up with that grogginess, you're waking up refreshed. And sometimes I find that even if I'm only getting like 3-4 hours of sleep refreshed because I didn't wake up a ton of times. I was just in this very peaceful, natural sleep. So sleep is a huge one, which also goes along with muscle recovery. If you are training really hard or working out every day, your sleep is so important, and it's huge for muscle recovery, and which can also lead to increased muscle and strength gains, because if you're able to get a really good night's sleep night after night, your muscles are going to recover faster, and it's going to allow you to speed up the process of gaining muscle. Focus is the big one. I used to be on Adderall, Ritalin, added to the list. I was just on just about everything. And because I couldn't focus, I was in school. I couldn't even sit down at my computer at work without just feeling daunted by a list of emails. And now just the CBD that's even in my system after taking it first thing in the morning allows me to just focus, and it gets rid of all of the other distractions. And I think that's really a big kind of like a snowball effect with anxiety too, because when you have anxiety, your brain is doing a million things at once. So being able to just get rid of the voices and the other things going on and just really focus on whatever you're doing. So focus is huge. I personally have found it's increased my cardiovascular endurance, and I think a lot of that has to do with focus as well. And then it is a natural mood booster, which again, if you're not anxious and you're able to focus and your body feels good, you're naturally going to be in a better mood. But it is shown it doesn't produce serotonin, but it opens up the receptors that receive serotonin. So it works as a natural mood booster as well. And that's just to name a few. So
it's so interesting that, because I take it specifically for, like, I started taking it for anxiety and just like that overwhelm. And it's so interesting to like hear you talk about all the different benefits, because I'm like, oh yeah, like I am feeling like in a better mood and just like being able to focus more after gummy and stuff like that. So that's so awesome. And another, I love the cream. So I have tendinitis in my wrist, and sometimes it just like, if I'm doing any type of like press with dumbbells or something, my wrist will get super sore, and the cream is like godsend. Like it is amazing. Such a relief.
It's amazing. And actually it's super, super relaxing too. So what I love to do with the cream is after I take a hot shower, I put it on my hands and my feet, and I can just literally feel it like penetrating my body. And it's like so calming and relaxing, and it's essential natural smells. So it's just super, super relaxing. I love using that cream too.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Yes.
Also, not to mention, a very underrated benefit of CBD is its help with your skin. Because it's an anti-inflammatory and an antibacterial, it actually can get rid of acne.
Oh wow.
I'm working with an esthetician right now who is actually starting to promote Sweat CBD to her clients because it has helped her a ton with other clients that she's used it on. So
yeah. Wow. Well, I'm so glad that we got to answer these questions, because I feel like, I didn't expect to learn a bunch of stuff, because I felt like I kind of knew the answers, but I even took away a lot of things. So I'm sure this will bring like a lot of clarity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And I'm learning new things every day. So it's honestly, it's really fun. There's always new studies coming out and always new benefits being named. And it's just, it's exciting to know that, you're taking something that is natural and it's helping you with so many things and can replace so many other harmful substances and additives in your life or medications. And it's completely changed my life.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. And so for anyone who is interested in checking out Sweat CBD, it's just sweatcbd.com, right?
Yep.
And then you can also go check them out on Instagram, and it's just @sweatcbd. And of course, I love the products. I love Kelsey. I love Sweat CBD. And you guys can use my code, which is just mermaid, when you check out, so that you can get a little bit of a discount. Who doesn't want that? And if you have any other questions about CBD before deciding what is best for you, you can DM me or you can reach out to Kelsey. I'm sure she's happy to help as well. So
Yes. Always happy to help, always happy to answer questions. I'm really active on Instagram in my direct message to be able to answer any questions you have. So bring them on.
cool. All right. Well, thanks so much.
You're welcome.